What's the worst reply to all mistake you've witnessed? An Excel sheet containing a lot of salary information, and then another one following it to say don't open that first one and to just delete it. Nope. Curiosity not piqued. Not at all. Nothing will guarantee me reading an email like a recall request for said email. HR manager sent an Excel workbook with some pertinent info on the first sheet to everyone, but failed to remove the fourth sheet which had everybody's salary. Former admin at my old job received an email from my boss with an attachment in the note send this attachment to that stupid freaking idiot client. She forwarded the email straight to the client. That's why she was the former admin. To be fair, boss, was terrible dong, but still. There's this woman here at work. Almost every time when the CEO sends an email to all staff announcing something new or good, she replies to all, telling the CEO how good he is and how much she admires his work and dedication to make our company better, and just how much Jesus has blessed him and everyone working here. A few minutes later she replies to all again apologizing for that mistake because that was intended just for him. I didn't know what a sycophant was until I read that. A woman sent a retirement announcement inadvertently to the entire tens of thousands strong agency I work for. People were hitting reply all to tell others not to reply all. It went on for hours. The good old reply all apocalypse. I've had that occur where I work as well. My favorite is when the action starts to die down, then someone who was out of the loop checks their email and gets it started again. There was an email floating around the office about some sort of event that someone was trying to organize. I can't remember exactly what it was about, but this woman clearly thought she was only responding to her friend when she wrote, "I'll tell you the coochie cream story later." Founder asking how to fire the outsourced Indian developers CC'd to the outsourced Indian developers. Problem solved itself quickly. Please do the needful on priority. Worked at a large Fortune 100 company, 70k employees. A few years back, CEO sent out an email to all users, then some fuckstick replies all with a comment back. The chain reaction of dimwits all clicking reply all to say stop pressing reply all brought the email system to its knees for about 5 days. Stop replying to all. People might be surprised, or maybe they wouldn't, how often this happens in the corporate world. I saw a guy reply all with a file attached that included the social security number of his whole family, his income, wife's income, etc. Oh Jesus, that's a proper tifu. My former co-worker hit reply all on an email about a golf scramble. He tried forwarding it to another guy talking about seeing one of the new interns in a short golfing skirt. Notice I said former co-worker. Also, my team won the golf scramble if that matters. I'm just proud you won. This is why I always assume someone else will read my email besides the intended recipient. And, knowing Murphy's Law, it will be the absolute worst person to do so. Worked in my favor once, when I wrote to a manager about a customer service problem and accidentally said the customer in it. But in it I was polite and sounded concerned. I wasn't, and the customer appreciated it. Yep. I don't even joke about crap in work emails on the off chance it goes awry, especially if it concerns a difficult client or an intractable co-worker. Those get the Mr. Spark treatment. Worked on a TV show that everyone except the creator hated, and everyone knew from the ratings would be cancelled any second. I was working in legal, and on an email chain where a report of outstanding legal issues for the upcoming episode was sent to literally everyone you could think of, 50 plus people, ranging from me, one title above entry level, to the head of the network. A middling executive replied to all, "They're getting cancelled and we still have to deal with this crap." To make matters worse, she attempted to recall the email, just drawing more attention to it, and then replied to all again, "Please disregard last email." Trying to generate an internal report for my department. Hit the wrong button. It was the hit the wrong button that sent me and my boss into hysterics. I so badly wanted to reply that we didn't know there was a crap talk button. Company-wide email about the use of proper language on the floor. There had been a few cases of people swearing in front of clients, etc. Guy responds frick that or something similar. Thinking he was forwarding it to a friend to discuss the situation. He was let go 20 minutes later. Hush. My cousin once sent an email meant for his girlfriend to everyone in his address book. He wrote in great detail about the ways in which he and his brother's English bulldog were going to have sex with her when he got home. This probably happened 15 years ago, and I'm sure he has convinced himself that everyone has forgotten. Things like that stay forever. My first job out of school, my manager had to fire someone. The manager was pretty young, and it's the first time he ever had to do this. He sends an email to HR for assistance and direction as to how to go about firing this person. Well, the issue became moot when he accidentally CC'd the guy who was going to be fired. We were able to actually see the moment that guy got the email, though we didn't know what happened at the time. But we did see him stand up and storm over to the manager's office. Well, that's certainly one way to do it. I worked for a delivery company, and someone sent an email about something very unimportant and C said pretty much everyone in the company, 99% of whom had nothing to do with the subject, at least once a day for the next 2 weeks. Someone would hit reply all and everyone would get another unimportant email. Finally, someone freaked out and sent this email to everyone about how hitting reply all was costing the company money because it had to send the email to so many people. Everyone at that company was pretty technology illiterate and I found it highly amusing. Actually, someone at a company I recently retired from demonstrated that these repeated do not reply all email chains really do cost the company money in terms of lost productive time. If I still had that analysis, I'd post it. My brother-in-law's family decided to carry on the conversation on an email chain without removing my sister or brother-in-law from it. Topics discussed were my brother-in-law's ineptitude in general and disdain for my sister. These are the people who have made overtures that in case my sister or brother-in-law cannot handle raising my nephew, that they'll take over. I have the email in safekeeping if there is ever a custody battle. My former mother-in-law routinely sends me text messages she meant to send to her son about me. She's also forgotten to hang up the phone and inadvertently left me disparaging voicemails. Bonus: they are usually about how I don't let her see her grandson and what a bee I am. Babysitter wrote to my husband, my daughter, and I about babysitting my granddaughter who was staying with us. My husband and I were going out on a date night. I was trying to respond to my husband come 7 o'clock with a picture of my Whelp, TLDR, sexted my daughter and the babysitter. In our medical school, we were allowed to reply with one person we wanted to be with in our small group for the next year and one person we didn't. At the head office of a large UK insurer, Adrian, the pugnacious, unpopular and unappealing contractor was showing Peter, a new programmer on his first day how to use CC mail. Peter is logged in, Adrian is next to him, typing. He decides on the following message. Subject, W. Body, you are 1. He shows Peter how to call up the address book and selects the first entry which happens to be AJ surnames. Couple of clicks and there it is in the box. He then states, explicitly, better not clicks and then, somewhat inexplicably, does that very thing. About 800 employees, including the CEO, almost simultaneously look up and start to loudly discuss exactly who this Peter is and why he thinks they may have onanistic tendencies. Peter, rather unfairly, spent some uncomfortable time with both HR and the CEO, who was a hands-on type, to be sure. Ironically, Adrian, who indeed was a W of the most furious variety, didn't receive said email as his initial was further down in the alphabet. Onanistic is a great word. After an all-staff announcement, around 2,000 people, from the new CEO about an upcoming downsizing, one person replied to everyone shortly after saying, "Can you believe this crap, Kate? This new CEO is such a freaking C. I swear if I see him on the street I'll break his freaking neck." As you can imagine, that's threats of violence and taken pretty seriously. On the plus side though, she didn't have to stress about the downsizing anymore because she was fired. Every time someone gets fired at work, all the managers get an email describing the person is being let go. One of the managers in another department always replies approved. I mean every time without fail. At my previous company the CEO would send all 2,000 plus employees an email explaining employee X was fired. A girl in my school sent a group text with several colors and what each one meant you thought about her. You were supposed to reply with which color you thought of her. I replied black. I didn't like her. Apparently some people had phones that didn't show group texts because the next day a Middle Eastern guy came up to me and angrily demanded to know why I called him black. It made for a very awkward explanation. I'm a teacher, and I am in a group chat with my fellow department members. This past school year, Person A lost his grandmother, whom he was very close with, a week before his wedding. He really wanted her to be there, and he was quite upset. Naturally, as a department, we threw around the idea of getting him a card and putting some money in it for him. The next day Person B, an ignorant, middle-aged woman who is terrible with technology, makes the mistake of replying to the group chat instead of the person she was bitching to. Her reply went something along the lines of, "This is ridiculous. I don't have the money to give him. I have too much going on in my life right now and I really don't need this. I'm not giving money." Meanwhile, this lady drives a brand spanking new Mercedes to school every day and spends hundreds of dollars on her hair and nails a week. She brags about it often. Needless to say, Person A was extremely embarrassed, and the rest of us would pee. Our school district sent out an email asking for ideas of ways to save money. A person replied to all with the names, positions of the people she thought were expendable and why. I could save my company a fortune if I was allowed to do that. Company sent out an email to all employees asking them to sign and return their employment contracts, complete with comp plans, before a certain date. Just about everyone understood this meant in a separate email, but a few did it as a reply all, and showed over 2,000 employees what their comp was. That's what BCC is for. Sigh. My best friend and best man replied all to a group text when I was getting married. We were talking about making plans and doing wedding related errands and he said something to the effect of, "When are we gonna ditch these losers and get drunk?" My fiance was unimpressed. Best friend, not just a regular friend. This is an advanced friend. I worked at a large Canadian company. We had a rough estimate of maybe 17,000 people on staff at the time. Someone in HR sent out a company-wide email. Happens from time to time. It was something banal that applied to maybe half of the list, but they sent it to a DL in the T line instead of the BCC line. Someone who this did not apply to replied to all asking to be removed from the list, which prompted other people to do that, which made people reply asking for everyone to use their heads and stop replying to all, which made smartasses reply to all, which made one of our co-CEOs reply to all asking to be removed from the list, which started it all again. Eventually this caused IT to temporarily shut down our email servers for the morning while they cleaned it up. I was planning an international friendship event with a university, 2 diplomatic offices, and military officers from 2 different countries. One of the diplomatic officers accidentally replied all and included me on a thread where they were bemoaning how their admiral was a total butthole. The good news it was country A calling country A's admiral and butthole. It would have been 100 times worse if it had been country A calling country B's admiral a dong. I just replied all and said hi everyone. Looks like perhaps I was included on this thread by accident. I'm going to start a fresh thread for the question I need to ask you guys about parking permits. Cheers. It was okay. Fortune 500 company. Email blast to many departments and a VP of important things replied all. It is Saturday night and I am too drunk to respond to these emails. Well, that's what they get for trying to have an important email conversation on a Saturday night. Not a reply all, but this rang a bell. A couple of months ago and over a period of 3 or 4 weeks I was somehow included in an email chain between, from what I can tell, various staffers for Canadian MPs. It was mostly day-to-day things, but there were the occasional snarky comments about different MPs. Someone must have miskeyed an email address and accidentally included me. I haven't received anything in months now, so I'm guessing they realized their mistake and corrected it. Oh, and I live in a desert of the Southwest United States. Most definitely not Canada. This reminds me of something that happened to me in the military. I was a lowly E3 and some general had the same name as me. I ended up learning all kinds of crap about top brass and getting asked for input on important policy decisions. Not reply all, but 10 years ago, someone emailed the entire company, approx 20k staff spread across 3 countries, announcing he was leaving, where he was going, and announcing a leaving drinks do which he invited people to attend. Nobody in my satellite office of 350 people had even ever heard of this guy. We discovered he worked in one of our larger main offices approximately 50 miles away, and it seems he might have intended to send it to them. I used to work at a small office with a lot of guys and one small men's room. The CTO once sent out an email that read, subject, medical advice, body, whomever just used the men's restroom should go see a doctor. He meant to send it to the men in the company, but accidentally included a major client of ours. Thankfully they got a laugh out of it. I once received an email from a girl at my college putting in an application for a social media manager position. Oh, and so did 400 other people. Turns out she sent it to one of the listservs. I'm guessing that if she can't properly send an email, she probably didn't get the job. At my university, the administration always sends out alerts to all students, faculty, and staff when a sexual assault occurs on campus. These come in the form of both email and text messages, and everyone receives both. So in the spring of my freshman year, we received an alert that an assault had occurred on campus the night before. Well, this guy, Mike, who works in the university's IT department, hit reply all to that alert email, and wrote to all of the students, faculty, and staff of the school. How do I unsubscribe to these alerts and text messages? I would still like to receive important messages, just not these. I think he still has his job honestly, but he was as popular as Harambe on campus for about 2 or 3 weeks. I knew it was only a matter of time before I found this. At university, my best friend spent the summer traveling in Vietnam and Thailand. He sent me a very sordid email about all the W&S he was banging. Unfortunately, he'd hit reply all to one of those chain mails that went around friends back in the day, and even more unfortunate was that his girlfriend was one of the recipients. Jesus, I'd forgotten about that. Dude sounds like a dong and had it coming. His poor girlfriend. Woman in her 40s was emailing her dad thanking him for apologizing for sexually abusing her as a child. Sent it to the entire office instead, about 50 people. I stopped reading pretty quickly. I'm not her dad, but apparently it went into a lot of detail about the psychological trauma this had caused her. No idea why she was doing this from work. Not strictly a reply all, but still a WTF moment. I managed to delete it from a few computers around me as those staff were AFK, but everyone knew about it pretty quickly. That was really nice of you to go and delete the email from those computers. A junior professor did a reply all to an email from a dean, with a dismissive remark about the dean's message and a mildly offensive, juvenile joke on the dean's name. He left the school a little later, but has done very well for himself since. I work in a large investment firm. Years ago, someone sent a mass mail to the whole company with some stupid plan to lower gas prices. Everyone stopped buying gas at XXXX station, so something will happen. People were pissed at this dude, but everyone kept replying all and either making fun of the original sender or telling everyone else to stop replying all. It went on for many dozens of emails, and it was the best. Me and a couple of dumb guys in my debt at the time created a fake Yahoo email under the name of our CEO. We fired a few people that day. Most saw that it came from CEO's name at yahoo.com, but a couple really thought they were being fired over email by the CEO of a gigantic company. All of this makes me wonder why email services don't have a sending in 5 seconds countdown where you can cancel the email if you notice something is wrong. A couple years ago, there was a mom that replied all to an email requesting her daughter's name be fixed in the university's address book. That email was sent to over 800 students. Over the course of the morning, over 200 emails were sent in that email thread, most students requesting that they be removed from the all students email list. Years ago at work, this guy meant to send a joke that touched on all race, religions, sexual orientations to his buddies. He somehow got all users in the field. He had to write an apology, so if someone went to HR, they could hand out this apology. The better part of this story is this. A few weeks later, his buddy that sat next to me was laughing, and I asked what he was laughing at. He says he got another joke from this same coworker. I asked him to send it to me. I forwarded back to him and add all users in the header and go, dude, you're nuts. You did this again. I waited a few minutes and went over to his desk to see him sweating bullets and just started laughing. One of my favorite work stories ever. You tell him I'm gonna get his Yankee butt. There was a haha JK email sent after that. I do not think it was originally intended to be a joke. In school my teacher did these attendances where instead of saying here he asks a fun question which you answer. One day he asked, how many sugar cubes would it take to get an elephant to the moon? Naturally we all answered silly answers, but when I got home, I spent the next week using all my free time towards answering this. Looking back I wonder how god awfully off I was, and I made an email, which I, for some god awful reason, sent to the entire class. The next 2 weeks ruined my inbox. TLDR. Spent a week on calculating a single problem. Started a 2-week long email heck on accident. Not exactly a reply all story, but when I was newly employed at the company I work for, I was having a very personal email conversation with my then boyfriend via work email. It involved me, a much younger, incredibly stupid me, telling him some of the more kinky things I wanted to try. Later in the day, he sent me an article that I found hilarious. I, being new at my company and wanting to get chummy with my coworkers, sent it all around the workplace and to various friends and my mother. Within minutes, I received a reply from my friend asking if I meant to send the entire email chain to all those people. Needless to say, I kinda wanted to die. I nearly didn't go back the next day. However, I bit the bullet and explained what I'd done to my boss. He laughed and said not to do it again and then had my back when the owners wanted to fire me. Now, 11 years later, people still bring it up from time to time, like at the Christmas party, over a mic. TLDR. Sent an explicit email chain around my company. Miraculously didn't get fired. Several months ago there was an email that went out through a global address book in the aerospace industry. It reached like 100,000 people. I was at a workstation with my email open and it was about 10 minutes before the first "what is this about, why was this sent to me" message rolled in. Then about 50 more of the same thing. Next was about 300 emails telling people to stop replying all. I forwarded it to the spam watch thing and left for the day. Apparently this went on for hours and hours before it was somehow put to an end. The messages came in every language, from every continent and from many different countries. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.